Well, welcome, leaders. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leaders, parents, students, whoever happens across this on the YouTube channel. I am so excited today. I've got my friend Dennis Beckner here, all the way from California. Dennis, so glad to have you, man. I'm not gonna introduce you too much right now. I'm gonna let you do some of that in just a moment. But thank you so much for taking the time out to record this with us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. As we were saying before on the phone, the only thing I love more than doing youth ministry is talking about youth ministry and leadership and all that. So I'm super excited to hang out with you.
Yeah, phenomenal. So I just said you're from California, and I know our people watching this right now are thinking, okay, well, what in the world are you doing in Summerville, South Carolina? Tell them a little bit about how you got here and what exactly is going on in your world right now.
This is kind of cool. I was on staff at a church out in California, and one of our staff members married one of your pastors, or became one of your pastors. And so when I was taking this road trip, they said, come stay with us. So here I am, and they contacted you and said, hey, maybe you can come guest speak for us and turn into this. And it's just really cool. I'm super happy.
I'm fired up too. So a lot to unpack right there. So you were on staff at a church in California with Mary, I don't remember Mary's maiden name.
It's hard to say, Deschaines?
Yeah, that's right. There you go. There you go. So so now you're on this cross country trip. What exactly, what are you doing on your cross country trip?
I've been in ministry since '94, and during that time, you can imagine, I've known a lot of people who've moved all over the country. So this is kind of a reconnect tour, reconnecting with friends. And that's been one of the coolest things, is having conversations with them more than going and doing things, just reconnecting with people, catching up.
Awesome. So you are Dennis from California on a cross-country trip, checking in with people that you have mentored in ministry or ministered to over the years. So now I guess the next question is, what are we doing right now on this leadership training video for YouTube? What exactly, why is Dennis here is the question, right? So Dennis, tell me a little bit about your background in ministry. And where that began, and anything else you want to toss in there right now.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of the long version, a little bit of the short version, hopefully medium version is, when I was a kid, I grew up in a very small church in Texas, and one night in a revival, I just felt God telling me I was going to be a pastor someday. And I thought that meant something completely different than what it was. And God has since that time just taken me down a road where I thought I'd be a pastor of a small church in the middle of nowhere. I grew up to be a youth worker in one of the largest churches in the country, and it's just kind of ironic that you can't always figure out God. You know? Tell me your question again.
Yeah. Just talk about your journey in ministry.
Okay.
Where you began.
I actually had a crazy start to ministry. The church I just left was my third church. My first two churches were each like 250 or less, and kind of had some mixed experiences. And so when I left my second church, I thought I want to go find a large church, visit a few large churches, and find out, what are they doing that small churches aren't? What makes them successful? Why do people want to attend them? Why do they get involved? And so that's what I did. And
so you were on staff at a couple of smaller churches in student ministry, and then your plan was, I'm just going to go find a big church, a large church, and I just want to observe, see what's going on.
Exactly. I wanted to learn for a while. I kind of feel like I wish I had done an internship right out of college and gone and done this, but I'm more the guy who has to learn that he doesn't know things and then go learn what he doesn't know. So that's kind of the route I took, not on purpose, it's just how it happened. So when I got to Saddleback Church, I was a little bit broken from my experiences, just wanting to heal, number one, but also wanting to learn as much as I could about ministry, because the interesting thing is, I never felt the call leave. I always felt called to ministry. I just felt that I needed to learn before I did it again in another place. And what's funny is, so I visited that church in December of '98 and came on staff there almost on a whim, that these opportunities came available, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to get hired on at Saddleback Church. But They had a position for me, so I worked there for 6.5 years, and I've been doing the student ministries there for 21 years, something like that. And just had a blast. I've learned so much during that time that I never would have learned doing it on my own.
Yeah, incredible. So you were on staff at Saddleback with Rick Warren, Doug Fields, those guys for a few years, and then you transitioned to volunteer.
I did.
Youth ministry, right? Right. So let's talk about that for a second, because a lot of the people watching today, they're parents, they're volunteers. As much as I would love to pay them, I don't get the chance to pay them. It's not an option right now.
Okay.
So let's talk about volunteer student ministry for a minute.
Being a volunteer, I see it as a promotion.
Yeah.
Like, I love doing paid youth ministry, and I hope to do it again, but there are so many rewards to doing volunteer youth ministry that you don't get being, like, you, knowing what little I do about you, but from the small amount of time we spent, you love the one-on-one ministry, but in your position, you need to rely on your volunteers to do it. The benefit in my role is I have this set group of students I'm pouring into, and they're my boys.
You get to do all the fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I get the calls at 1 in the morning and things like that, but it's all good.
Yeah.
I like it.
But that's such an incredible thing, because now you're on this cross-country tour, right? And you've been doing volunteer youth ministry, investing in the lives of people for years. And who are you staying? Like, talk a little about who you're staying with on this cross-country tour.
I'm staying with some former students, some former staff members. I'm on my next stop, where I leave to tomorrow, I'm staying with parents of a former student. Yeah. So a lot of it is student ministry related. Yeah. Just people I've run into in the past, so it's kind of cool. So
you've built relationships with these kids, their parents, their families, and now they're hosting you in their home. Some of these places, 20 years after the ministry role, the relationship's still strong. Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of relationships in student ministry. One of the things that we talk about all the time is, I can't invest relationally in every single student, but together we can. So let's talk about the importance of relationships in student ministry.
One of the things I tell parents, and now we're talking to parents and volunteers, is as a youth worker, as your son's small group leader per se, I'm not off limits. Probably most students want to compartmentalize their life. This is my school life, this is my home life, this is my church life. Yeah. Well, I see my role as a youth worker as, I care about the student, but I care about the student's environment. And I want to be available to the parents, and I don't want the parents to think I'm off limits. So anybody watching this video, one of the most powerful things you can do for the parents of the students in your group is make sure the parents know that you're accessible, but also within that there's boundaries. Like a parent's not going to come sit in my small group, but and this is another thing, is I like to communicate to the parents the bullet points. And I communicate the minutia to the boys. So I keep the parents informed but not overwhelmed. So try to keep a balance there.
So the parents know what's going on, so they can continue the conversation at home, but at the same time safeguard the small group environment so that the students feel like they have a safe place to share and to talk and to grow.
Definitely.
Yeah, I love that. So you've been in student ministry now for, since what, 1994? I think you said. So almost 3 decades.
Yeah,
how about
crazy.
that? That's awesome. That's incredible. So what are some things that you've seen change over your decades in student ministry?
You know what? When it comes to trends, things like that, I look at trends as Mexican food.
Okay.
So you have a taco made out of a crispy taco shell, meat, cheese, veggies.
Yeah.
Or you can have a tamale made, well, actually that's corn, but meat, and maybe put some sauce on top. You have a soft taco, tortilla, meat, cheese, veggies, flauta, tortilla, meat, cheese. So there are all these different things that are Mexican food, all made out of the same thing. It's just they're packaged differently. That's how I see trends.
Okay.
Like, you have this trend that's packaged this way, the next trend, same thing, packaged in a different way. You got students who have basic needs, no matter what the trend is. So the trend is important maybe to make an inroad, but you're meeting the same needs no matter what's going on. So it's not to say the trends aren't important, but meeting the basic needs of students is what's important. So if I was to go out and chase down every trend, by the time I got it down as a 50-year-old youth worker, they've already moved on to the next trend.
They're already on something else.
It's not that I don't care. It's that I focus on the actual student behind the trend and try to reach them personally. So I'm probably not answering your question the way you want, but that's just kind of what I've been thinking the last couple of decades.
No, I think that's really strong. I mean, I know I've been in student ministry now 7 years full time. And so in those 7 years, the world's changed dramatically, but yet the solutions to the questions the world's asking, it's still the gospel. Right? I mean, the world's offering all kind of answers to all kind of issues that are really real issues, but the answer, I mean, you know, the old Sunday school joke, the answer is always Jesus of the Bible. The answer really is Jesus. So how do you communicate truth in a way that does connect with where students are today?
The most, and this is a trend issue, one of the most damaging trends right now, and I would say actually since the beginning of time, is muddying the waters and just creating confusion. There's a lot of confusion out there right now. And so not only are we having to reach into the student lives to meet basic needs, to deal with loneliness and the need for connection, the need for spiritual development, things like that, we're also having to wade through the confusion that's out there in the world and do it in a way that doesn't turn the student away. So that's kind of a delicate balance sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you walk that line? Because what you're saying, I love what you're saying, right? That every student's got these basic needs that it's our responsibility as the spiritual influencers in their life and as parents and families too, is to identify these needs and meet these needs. I think that's absolutely true. And then to speak truth with clarity. But how do we speak truth with clarity in a way that furthers the relationship and doesn't divide?
Well, I think that's the problem, is that for the last few centuries, the church has a stereotype of dividing. This is what we're offering. If you want to put it on your plate, take it. If not, there's the road. You know, and I think I know in my own life, I have family members who have been turned off for decades by the church because they felt like the church didn't care, that the rules were more important than the people in the church. And I feel like the church is turning a corner. The general church as a whole. There's obviously churches individually that are kind of still struggling, or they're still my way or the highway kind of approaches. I think there's also the danger of the pendulum swinging, where the church gives up all of its values for the sake of reaching people. And I can't say this is the red light in the sand, because like Jesus said, he's willing that everybody would go to heaven, but how do we balance that?
Right.
So I'm asking you a question in response to your question. I get that, but there are some things we'll never be able to answer well, or maybe somebody will, but I don't think it's going to happen right here.
Yeah. So. But I love what you're saying, though. You prioritize the person that's in front of you, and you do all you can do within the boundaries that God's given us in Scripture, right? To prioritize and love that person, while at the same time saying, hey, there's a way that leads to life, and it's found in the Scriptures. It's rooted in who Jesus is and what He's done for us. And so it is a fine line, and I would say, sitting right here, it's hard. It's a whole lot harder to prioritize the person and speak the truth than it is just to. It's a whole lot easier. I think it would be a whole lot easier just to say, well, whatever you want to do whatever you want to do. Or, no, we're just going to go all truth, right? And just say, well, here's what the Bible says, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's if there wasn't the confusion piece, if there wasn't somebody else, it's kind of like going back to the Garden of Eden. The serpent saying, did God really say that?
That's right.
That's really what's going on in our world today. Is like take LGBTQ issues. I don't know where your church stands on that, but a lot of churches, it's a double-edged sword. I think, hooray for churches that are tackling that issue, and there's a whole segment of society that needs to be reached, but How do we do that? What are the boundaries? So there's a lot of confusion that's coming from that, specifically that we will one day maybe have answers for, and maybe have a pathway for that to happen, to reach that community, which my heart breaks for that they're not part of the church, and we just have to figure that out, you know? And it's not compromise. What is it?
Right. Right. Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago with our students, and I mean, I've talked to so many of our leaders about these issues, about how do we connect with kids in small groups, and that are struggling with this, or they're dealing with A, B, C, or D at school, and they got friends that are choosing this lifestyle or that lifestyle. How do we do that? And one of the things that we just kept saying is that the truth matters. Truth matters, and how we carry that truth matters.
Definitely. I wish I had said that.
Yeah. Well, you can. I don't think I said it first. I'm pretty sure I probably stole it from somebody.
That's truth right there.
Yeah. And so it is. I love that you're saying that. They say in experts, anybody that comes from more than 50 miles away and carries a briefcase. I don't know if you have a briefcase with you or not, but he did come all the way from California, and he's saying here that the issues we're navigating, they're hard.
Yeah.
But we're praying for opportunities as a church to minister, to carry the gospel into places that need the light of the gospel. And so we should expect that.
I welcome the chance anytime I get to talk to somebody I completely disagree with. Who does not believe in the God I serve, who does not hold the values I serve. And I don't want to do anything to shut that door.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's what do you do? How does the conversation go? So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that goes back to what are the basic needs, and like that's the common denominator we all have. So working from that, I have people I completely disagree with, but I can have civil conversation with.
Yeah. So which is a novelty in today's world, but I think it's necessary to move the gospel forward in this day and age. I love that. So next question. I know we spent some time there, but such an important issue. Thank you for being willing to go there for a minute.
Yeah.
How do you gauge effectiveness as a leader?
People vote with their feet.
Okay.
So, if your ministry isn't meeting the needs of leaders, your leaders aren't. If your leaders don't feel appreciated, if they don't feel equipped, if they don't feel trained and cared for, they're not going to last. It's going to be I signed up to serve because I felt guilty, and I'll give you a year or 6 months or something like that. But if your leaders feel trained and equipped, student or adult, and feel appreciated for what they do, and feel guided, where they don't feel like sheep without a shepherd, they're going to last a lot longer. If your students come in and don't feel like you have direction, don't feel like you have, that they're being challenged. And we were talking yesterday, we under-challenge students across America. Like they're capable of doing more, of being challenged on a higher level, and want that. Even if they don't say it, even if and it expresses itself in boredom. Students don't play video games for 10 hours a day because they don't have something better to do. They're playing video games because they're not being challenged, to be who God wants them to be. And that's not a dig on video games. It's just an example. I feel like you're being effective when students seek you out for more. It's one sign. If students don't care, they'll come to get out of the house. But if students know that there is a vision for your ministry and they have a part to play in that ministry, whether it's as a student or as a leader, and we want all students to move toward leadership, that's how we see growth. But you're a babysitting service. Nobody wants that.
Exactly what we don't want, right?
Exactly.
So for the small group leader who's sitting there watching this today, going, I'm not sure I'm connecting with students. I'm not sure, they keep showing up, but I'm not sure they're actually listening. It doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. What would you say to that leader today?
Well, there's a couple of things involved there. That so many variables in that we can't ever I'll throw a few things out.
Okay.
So a student is like, you can't engage with them They just won't. You text them, they don't text back. You want to hang out with them, they just won't. You're teaching and they're just checked out. Probably. Sometimes that can be a sign of something else. They're distracted, their mind's somewhere else. And as a leader, I would want some one-on-one time with that person. I'd check their social media, what's going on there. I would want to know what it is on their end that might be missing, but also say if you have 2 or 3 students that are checked out and you just can't engage with them, that might be a time to come talk to you, or maybe, I don't know if you have a coaching system, but to find out, well, how can I communicate better? How can I reach into their lives better? Some things I do on my end to help connect with students on a personal level that I think are kind of fun is I have traditions that I do. And there are some traditions student leaders can do. There's some traditions adult leaders can do, and maybe that they can partner together and do. Like say, come around sophomore year is when students start getting their wisdom teeth out. Okay, this is mean and awesome at the same time, which I love messing with people. I'll show up at their house. I'll tell the parents ahead of time, hey, we got a secret, don't let the kid know. But I'll show up at their house with the biggest container of sour gummy worms I can find.
Okay.
It's mean because they can't eat the sour gummy worms until they're better.
Yeah.
But it's awesome because they know someone cared.
Yeah.
And that is something that a student leader can do, or something that an adult can do. Somebody should show up at that kid's house and take a selfie and post it online and say, we care about this person.
Yeah.
You know. Another one I do is that this would have to be done by an adult is when a student gets their driver's license, and I put the ball in their court. They have to call me and say, hey, I got my driver's license. When are we going out to lunch? They pick me up for lunch, drive me to lunch, wherever they want to go. Hopefully it doesn't cost too much, but I buy and they drive. And that makes their day.
That's
it's
awesome.
like something they look forward to. So there's a few things like that I could tell you, but the thing is, it's a rite of passage kind of thing where something they could look forward to, but also something that just gives an extra level of care. So anything we can do like that, because if they know we care beyond our small group time, they're going to be more of a participant during life group time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you're investing not just in the student for the hour on Wednesday or whenever your small group happens. It's much more of I'm here to walk with you through life.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because we call our groups life groups. I don't know if you call them small groups.
We call them community groups.
Community groups. Okay, so I want a community group to be a central part of their life, not a side thing they do. I want it to be their best friends are part of the community group. They're really connected with. They're going to miss their leader when they're gone. They're going to have such an opportunity, such an experience in community group that they can't wait till they become a community group leader. So and I'm always dropping hints, like dropping invitations in. Hey, when you go to Point Loma Nazarene University, which is where I went, I'm always kind of kidding them like that. Or when you're a community group leader, I put that in their life. I put those in my remarks because I wanted to get into their head. Hey, you can do this too. And get them thinking, oh yeah, I want to do that someday.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. So if you could give one message to every student ministry or every student leader watching this today, what would you say? Okay.
This is a pet peeve of mine, so listen closely. And if you do this, you don't do it on purpose. But it's just something that we communicate by accident. And it creates a hierarchy between us and others that I think it turns people off, maybe. But say we have to stack chairs after our large group time, and a student leader will come up to somebody else and say, will you stack those chairs for me? Just get rid of the for me. You don't need that. Like, you're not asking them to stack chairs for you. You're giving them an opportunity to serve because it's good for them. They feel good about themselves after they do it. But when you say for me, you're making it about you, but it's not about you. It's about giving them an opportunity to serve and giving them a chance to feel like they connected and helped out and contributed something. So very subtle thing, but I wish everybody would quit saying for me.
Yeah, I love that. And you texted me that the other day, and it was like instant conviction. So if you're watching this and I've ever asked you to do anything for me, I am so sorry. I'm sorry to you. I'm sorry to Dennis. I need to repent to Jesus. Like, I'm so sorry.
And like I was saying,
that's huge, though. I love that.
Yeah, you hear it the whole time you're growing up, so it's just part of your vernacular.
Right.
But I think if we can be super, aware of how we're coming across to others, we'll have an easier time connecting with them.
Yeah, we say all the time that like, words matter. How we say things is so important. One of our big things is that we don't have to go to church. We don't have to read our Bible. We don't have to worship, but we get to. It's an opportunity. And I feel like that goes right in line with what you're saying there.
One thing I'm amazed with you guys is you even have Bob Ross inviting people to church. Like, that is real. I don't know how you do that.
I know,
but
we brought him back from... He passed away recently.
He's gone.
Right? Yeah.
But he's doing advertisements for you guys.
I don't know about
very
that.
Cool.
Yeah, that is. So I love. Thank you for sharing that. What about our parents watching? We may have some parents watching today. What about for the parents that feel like their teen is distant, their students distant? They ask the question, "How was school today?" and they get the good, fine. There just seems to be a lack of connection there. What would you say to those parents?
Yeah. It gets better. I've never been a parent.
Yeah.
But so when a parent says, "Hey, I need help with this," I say, I don't give parental advice, but I give basic relationship advice because I understand relationships.
Yeah.
So also they don't think, who's this knucklehead telling me how to parent when he's never been a parent.
Yeah.
But some things is, having been in youth ministry for so long, I've seen parents go through the tough times with their kids and they think it's just never going to get better, and then the kids grow up and have their first kid, and then grandparents, free babysitters and all that stuff. So it does get better, but it does get really tough.
Yeah.
The one thing, something I really value with parents is when they don't compromise, but when they also don't exasperate their kids.
That's good.
And one thing, I'll do you a favor here, is that your youth ministry cares about their students and should be one of their favorite places to be. And a lot of times parents will use that as a leverage tool. If you don't do X, Y, Z, you can't go to youth group this week. And I think when we do that, we create resentment for one, but also we take something out of their lives where they could have a mentor pouring into them. They could come and say, "Yeah, I'm really struggling with my parent right now about this," and have someone to talk to. I feel like we put handcuffs on them and say, "You can't get help because you love it there." One thing I would ask parents is, don't use this as a bargaining tool or as a punishment. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Take their cell phone, not their church.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm gonna make some students angry right now.
Yeah.
Please take their cell phones. Don't let them go to bed with. They don't need their phone after 10 o'clock at night. There's nothing that good that happens. So anyway, sorry kids, but
that may be the most important line of the whole thing, right? Take their phone after 10
And
o'clock
I hope
at
they
night.
don't see this video before I teach tonight, because no one's going to listen.
Are you going to say that tonight?
I will not, because I want them to like me.
They will. They'll love you. They'll love you. So, all right. So let's talk future for a second. What do you see? I mean, so you've been in student ministry now for a few decades. They say that with gray hair comes wisdom. That's in the Proverbs, right? So that's Bible. That's what do you see as like the future of student ministry? How student ministry is changing? How can we as leaders continue to effectively minister to students in the days to come?
Yeah. Well, to be consistent, I would say it goes back to something we've already said, is understand the basic needs of students and don't freak out about the trends.
That's good.
Like, don't feel like you have to chase the trends all the time, because let me put it up to you like this. I've seen your youth room. It's very cool, and you have a great youth program, but the church down the street that doesn't even have half of what you have can have doubled the youth ministry because they're not chasing the trend. We have to have the fancy lights, we have to have the stage, we have to have the band, all this stuff. It's the relationships that you want to chase, not so much the trend.
Oh, that's good.
Now the flash is cool, and I would never not want to have the cool stuff. But when you start relying on that to build your ministry.
That's good. Yeah.
And another thing I'll say that goes along the same concept of Flash is, and you're doing a good job of this here, is you never want to build your youth ministry around a personality. So if somebody leaves, if their small group leader leaves, the student doesn't leave because, sure, they mourn the loss of that relationship, but they value so much the relationship with their creator and the progress they're making that they don't want to lose the ministry. So
that's good. I love that. So it's relationship with God first and foremost, and the relationship with the people around you, and then all of the other stuff is just additives on top of all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the other things are important.
Yeah,
Say,
sure.
like I saw a video of you did a replacement for summer camp last year here on the property. I thought that's brilliant. And some of the things you guys did that, like you wrote the cards that helped you care for people during that time. I thought that's brilliant. That's good youth ministry. That is helping a student show how they can make a difference. So we need that extra stuff to develop students, but also to give them an opportunity to care.
Yeah.
So I'm not discounting anything.
Sure.
I'm just saying we focus on what's important.
Yeah. Know what substance and know what builds onto that. Yeah. I love that.
Pretend I said that. That's
you did.
Yeah.
A couple of, I guess these are maybe more personal about Dennis questions. You've written a book.
I have.
Talk a little about your book.
Well, 5 people have read it. One of them, and I'm not even related to. No, I'm just kidding. But
it's gonna be 6 because I'm gonna read it.
Yeah. Okay. My book, and I think realistically, I've never said this before, never even thought it before. I think everybody writes a book, whether you put it on paper or not. And my thought is, I don't want to go to the grave and take everything I've learned with me. So I want to be able to have something after I'm gone that all the mistakes I've made, and there've been a lot of them, and everything I've learned about youth ministry doesn't go with me. So I want to leave it behind. But not only do I leave it behind on paper, but also by raising up leaders behind me. So pouring into them, mentoring others. So even if you haven't put your book on paper, it's so important that you're mentoring others and reinventing yourself.
Oh, and what's your book called?
Volunteer Youth Ministry.
Volunteer Youth Ministry.
Just keep it simple.
Yeah. on Amazon, and you have a website that goes with that.
volunteeryouthministry.com.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So. And what Dennis won't tell you is that he's served at some of the greatest churches in the United States, and in a really high capacity role. Just an incredible leader, an incredible trainer of student ministry leaders, an incredible leader himself, an incredible volunteer, incredible heart for the kingdom. Have loved getting to hear about his ministry experiences over the last couple of days. And we're recording this at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon. He's going to speak to the gathering tonight. So if you're watching this in the future and you were here in what is our future, you will have been encouraged by Dennis tonight. And I'm super fired up to have you here, man. Thank you so much. Any final words of wisdom or anything that we didn't talk about that you're like, I cannot get off the camera without telling these Somervillians this?
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all.
Oh, wow. There's, I could go on for hours just because this is the most passionate thing in my life is youth ministry.
Yeah.
I care about students. And I guess the most important thing to me to say is think about what you're reproducing in others. Think about, and we're going to talk about this tonight, is think about who you want to become if you're a student. Like, say, especially like if you're in junior high, who do you want to be when you're twice your age? What kind of character do you want to have? You're not going to wake up someday on your goal date, say you want to say, who do I want to be by the time I'm 25? You're not going to wake up at 25 and suddenly be that person. What are you doing now to work to become that kind of person? So I think that's, if I was to say anything, that would be it.
I love that. And now all our leaders are sitting here going, we love Dennis so much. James, you need to listen to Dennis and be like Dennis. Man, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the opportunity.
Awesome. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.